Hey guys, it's Jordan here with the Elite BSC Mastermind Group. So somebody over in our group forum posted a question about closing deals. So assuming you've got some prospects in the pipeline and you've gotten all the way up to the point where they're asking for a proposal, what's the process for closing that deal? How can we raise our close ratio so that we can increase our chances as much as possible to be able to actually win the business from the prospect? It can be really, really frustrating to go through the entire process. You've waited for a year or 2 years to finally get a chance to bid on this particular job, only to fall short after delivering the proposal. Or worse, I hate it whenever we go through all of this and then we get very little interaction with the customer and they just wants to email them a proposal. So my chances, I feel like they're really low in those types of scenarios. And then if you don't get the business, it's going to be another 2 or 3 years before I even get a chance to look at this thing again. So how can we increase our odds to increase the odds of actually closing the deal once we've got our foot in the door and had a chance to bid on it? So I want to give you a few tips of some things that have worked for us in the past. These are by no means foolproof or things that are the only things that you can do, but these certainly have been helpful for us. And if you have any other ideas, I'd love to see you guys post those on our forum. But number one is what I'm going to call the team sale approach. So I want you to think in your mind that about the way and the psychology behind why someone would buy a service from you, and particularly janitorial service. So they're looking for somebody they can trust and somebody that knows what they're doing. So trustworthiness and credibility. And that is not built in a single proposal or a single phone call. Usually that happens over time. So if you want to influence someone's buying decision and get them to make a decision that's not based solely on price, then you've got to be able to cultivate a relationship with them. And the only way to do that is to have multiple interactions with that person. So people buy from people they trust and they like and that they think are credible at what they do. And for you to cultivate that in the person, you've got to have multiple touches with them over time. So when I say a team sale, what I like to see happen is that more than one person from our team has an interaction with that prospect over the course of the sales cycle. So let's say that you've finally gotten on the phone with someone, they want you to bid on their work. I'm going to want to take one other person, maybe 2 other people with me to that first meeting, and then I'm going to really push for an in-person sales proposal. And I may take a different person or bring that person back with me during that presentation. So what that does is it allows them to see more of your team, allows them to build some confidence in who you are and your team. So that would be number one, just to know that the closing a deal really starts earlier on in the sales process. So that's point number one. Number two is always push for in-person proposals. So if someone wants me to email a proposal, I will fight that tooth and nail. Because I want to get in front of the person to be able to have a face-to-face conversation with them. I want them to see me as distinguished from the rest of my competition. So I want them to see my professionalism, to see my personality, to see what our company is about, the way we dress, the way we talk, the way we act. I want them to see that in person. I want them to see me counter objections and handle things in front of them, to handle hard questions that they might ask. So I want to continually build and reinforce that credibility and trustworthiness. And we can do that best in a person-to-person, face-to-face situation. So, and if you can't get that, if they absolutely will not take an in-person meeting, what I would suggest is that you send that proposal, but schedule a follow-up meeting if at all possible, because you desperately need that. Number 3 is I like to ask hard questions. So I want to ask specifically things like, when are you going to make a decision? When do you plan to switch? A question, probably my favorite question to ask, is what is standing in the way of us being able to get this job? Is there anything about our proposal, about our price, that's going to keep us from being able to get this work? Where are you leaning? Where are you at right now in the decision-making process, and where do we stand in that process? So I want to put them on the spot to give me a good indicator of where we're at. So sometimes that will help me to figure out what I need to do in the follow-up stages. So if it's a price thing, maybe I'll go back to the drawing board and figure out a way to reduce some price. If I don't feel like I've got them in terms of feeling good with our company yet, maybe I'll go and follow up with some additional information that may help bridge that trust gap that's missing so far. So ask really hard questions. Customers like that. I want to be in the driver's seat in these discussions. So I don't want to be, someone sitting there begging, please hire us, please hire us. I want to be someone who's very confident and then asking the customer tough questions in a respectful way, but to know where I stand. And then lastly, I want to be persistent in my follow-up, but not pesky and annoying. So I want that follow-up to have a purpose with it. So it'd be good to have some things that maybe you hold back a little bit that you could send to them during the follow-up phase. So this may be a case study. It may be some additional referrals. It may be a referral letter from some customers like them. So let's say you've had a good presentation. It's down between you and one other person. Your price is somewhat in line. I might circle back around with a phone call to see where the decision-making process is at and say, hey, I've got a couple referral letters from some customers like yours that I want to send to you just to reinforce what we talked about. I will also let them know I use language like when I call and either leave a voicemail or talk to them that we're really excited about the prospect of partnering with you. Our team has been talking about this, and we're ready. As soon as you would be willing to give us the green light, we're ready to put together a transition team and get this thing started. So I want to use language like we're excited, we're ready to go, we've been talking about this, we are your partner as soon as you're ready. So I want to use that sort of language, this anticipating language, this confident language that we're ready to go. And so if you're not the owner of the company, oftentimes it's helpful to have the owner call on behalf of the salesperson. So let's say I've got a salesperson working this deal and we're kind of in limbo land after the proposal. A lot of times what I will do as the owner of the company is I will call the customer and say, hey, I'm one of the owners of the company. I know about this proposal. I just wanted to let you know that this is a big deal to us. We're really excited about the opportunity to partner with you all. If you have any questions, you can personally reach out to me. Here's my cell phone number. Here's my email address. We're just really wanting to let them know we're here, we're persistent, and we really want to serve them. So all of these things can be really helpful in sealing the deal. But remember, this whole sales and marketing process doesn't happen all at the end. It's something that takes time, and that trust, confidence, and credibility is built over time. So if you start implementing these things, hopefully they can help you to close more deals, which is what we all want.